On Christmas morning in a quiet Dallas suburb, a family of 7 was gunned down during what should have been a joyful holiday gathering. The most shocking detail, the killer was dressed as Santa Claus. In this week's episode of Two Crime Newsies, we unravel the Christmas Day massacre that stunned the world and the dark truth behind the man in the red suit. Hey everyone, I'm Jen. Thanks so much for being with us for another week of Two Crime Newsies. Ho, ho, ho!
Hello, everybody. I'm Tina. Ho, 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 Jen.
Who are you calling ho, ho, ho?
Not you.
I want to give a special shout out to all of our listeners and to you, my friend, as we hear in Charlie Brown in the Christmas Story, Christmas time is here. Merry Christmas, Tina.
Merry Christmas, Jen. Merry Christmas, everybody. I wish you all a safe and festive Christmas and a new year. And we're recording this a few weeks before Christmas. I have all my Christmas lights up outside. I'm about to dress up my Christmas tree. And I'm looking forward to Christmas Vacation. And I mean the actual movie.
It's the Butte Clock.
It's so good. I watch it every year, multiple times in the season.
Samesies. I love it.
It's the best. And I'm also, of course, looking forward to having a few days off to spend with family.
That will be good too. So Christmas movies for me are A Christmas Vacation for sure. We have Elf, which I love.
Yes.
Elf is a good one. I like, of course, the Santa Clauses movies. I like the first and the second one. The third one is, in my opinion, but the first one for sure, holiday staple. Yes, and then the Grinch, my little one. So as you guys might know, I have 2 kids, and my little one is obsessed with the Grinch. And we love, love, love the Grinch, especially Max.
The Grinch movie or the Grinch cartoon?
The Grinch movie. So the one, I want to say it was released in like 2017, 2018. It's amazing.
With Jim Carrey? Is that who is in?
So it's not the actual person one. It's like it's an animation one, but it's the newer version. And it has like kind of like hip-hoppy type music in it. It'd be something for your husband.
You should send that to me.
I will.
So I know which one you're talking about.
I will.
I also love Just Friends.
Oh, that's a good one too. Or The Holiday.
Which one is The Holiday?
With Jude Law. And I mean, it has like Jack Black in it too, and Kate Winslet. Yes.
You exchange houses. Nah, I'm not so much into that one. Yeah, that one's not my favorite. I don't know.
Oh, I love
It's a
that
little
one.
too Hallmarky for me.
Oh, it's so good. All right. So Tina and I absolutely love this time of year, as you can probably tell.
Yes,
and
we do.
as we were planning out our episodes for the month of December, Tina and I decided we have to do a special Christmas-themed episode. And boy, let me tell you, we've got a Grinch of an episode this week. And before we get into the story, I want to give a little listener warning because some of the things we're going to talk about are very graphic. So for all of our younger listeners, because I know we have some out there, why don't you tune in next week again? And for now, go bake some Christmas cookies or something.
Go watch the Grinch movie.
Yes! Perfect, Tina.
Gosh, I love a Christmas cookie.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing I splurge on this time of the year. We always order a dozen iced sugar cookies for Christmas.
You don't make them yourself?
No, I'm not that talented. I'm talking about the real pretty ones. You know what I mean? With
like the fancy ones.
The fancy ones with that icing that's all decorative and stuff. I could never do that. I can't even draw a stick figure that you would know is a stick figure. It's real bad. I have no artistic sense. Anyway, sugar cookies can be pricey, but they're so good and they're so pretty.
They are so pretty. Okay, my friend, ho ho ho, let's get into this week's episode. And it's one that's going to leave someone on Santa's very, very naughty list, to say the least. This week we're talking about a show called The Christmas Killings, and it's hosted by one of my all-time favorite true crime hosts, Miss Nancy Grace. Some of you guys might have very different opinions about Nancy Grace.
Polarizing.
But I love her. I love the way she tells stories. I truly enjoy her kind of like in your face type personality. I feel like I have very much of that personality sometimes, and I really find her intriguing.
I do like her intensity. I appreciate her intensity when she's covering these cases.
Exactly. And in this week's episode, we're talking about a show called Estranged Husband Dressed as Santa Claus Causes Chaos. And it's part of the show, The Christmas Killings. And I just have to mention the intro to this show. I love it. It starts off zoomed in on a red door with a Christmas wreath on it. And there's some very festive music with jingle bells. And then there's a quick pan out and you see a beautiful white 2-story house that has icicle lights on it. And there's a tree lit up in the yard and there's snow all around. And then suddenly a knocked over snowman comes into the frame and there's a bright red blood stain on the white snow around the snowman. And the snowman has a butcher style knife sticking out of its balls.
What?
You know the snowballs where the bottom and the middle ball made of snow where they meet. Why are you laughing at me?
You said snowman balls.
Don't be dirty, Tina.
No, you said it. Don't you put this on me.
What else would you call it?
The snowman's body? I don't know.
The balls of snow. Oh my gosh. And then we're zoomed out all the way to a wide frame shot. And there's a yellow crime scene tape all around the yard of this idyllic Christmas scene. And the music has turned darker with deep undertones of dread. I mean, if this intro doesn't get you hooked, I don't know what will. Now, the story starts out in historic Grapevine, Texas, which is located north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And just before we started recording, Tina told me that she's heard of Grapevine, Texas as the destination for the holidays. Tina, for all of our listeners who haven't been, tell us about it.
Okay, I've been to Grapevine, which many might not know is a destination also for wineries and wine tasting.
In Texas?
Yup.
Interesting.
And Christmas festivities. I'd like to see this one day. We have friends in Grapevine who talk about the downtown area turning into a Christmas wonderland around this time of the year, complete with a Polar Express.
That's pretty cool.
How fun is that?
Mm-hmm.
In this episode, Nancy Grace tells us that Grapevine hosts over 1,000 events in the 40 days leading up to Christmas.
Wow. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a place the Grinch should not be.
1,000 events in 40 days.
That sounds exhausting.
You'd have to go multiple years in a row to attend them all.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty awesome.
I know.
It sounds like my kind of place. I love Christmas so much. The lights, the music, the food, the traditions. I love it all, and I am here for it. But on Christmas morning 2011, the jolly spirit was shattered when we hear on the show an eerie 911 call. The show plays a portion of that 911 recording, and it's chilling. You hear some rustling on the call, but no speaking. And the 911 dispatcher asks if the person needs help, and you hear it in a very, very soft whispering voice, what sounds like a man saying, "Help me, help me." Meanwhile, while this is being played on the show, we hear that a girl named Zara Sarai is visiting family in the city of Grapevine.
Vivian Tall is Zora's best friend, and she was spending Christmas Day with her boyfriend's family. And she says she texted Zora Merry Christmas that morning, but Zora didn't return the text. Vivian didn't think anything of it because it's Christmas Day, and usually that's a very hectic and busy day for everyone. I don't pay attention to my phone either on Christmas, Jen. There's too much going on.
I'm snapping photos left and right. That's what I do. I am. I love it.
I'm terrible at that. I never grab a photo.
Oh, Grapevine Police Captain John Luna says they got a call around 11:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. Now, he said what was unusual about the 911 call is that this was a whispering voice on the phone, and it was hard to understand what they were trying to say. And thankfully for police, this call came in from a landline, so they were able to pull the address. And for all of our younger listeners out there, you may not know what a landline is. Well, back in the olden days, as like my kids like to say, we had landline phones, also known as a house phone. Remember calling it a house phone?
I sure do.
Uh-huh. The reason it's called a landline is because the phone is literally hooked up to a telephone line in your home, and then you can make calls from inside the house. And back in the day, if you had a cordless landline phone, let me just tell you, man, you were fancy. These non-corded phones were pricey. And I'm talking sometimes a couple $100. And if you had one of those, you were fancy. If not, you were basically tethered to the wall by an actual phone cord. Remember that?
Yes.
Which meant you either had to stand or sit right next to the wall for the entirety of your call.
Not only that, Jen, but you never knew who was calling you. It was a surprise. It was. Every time the phone rang, you had no clue who was going to be on the other end.
Yup.
I don't know if that's good or bad now that I think about it.
Okay, so back to the story. So police head to the location of the call, and they get to an apartment-style complex about 14 minutes after the 911 call was made.
Captain Luna says it was quiet when police arrived at the scene, and they didn't see anything unusual or suspicious. Grapevine is also a pretty safe community, but they knocked on the door anyway to make sure everyone was okay.
One of the responding officers looked into the window of an apartment, and that's when we hear he saw a pair of legs lying on the ground, not moving. Tina literally just got chills.
I did.
He then went to look through another window, and that's when the officer saw more people laying on the ground, not moving. Now, officers radioed in to get permission to break down the door. That was granted, and they went inside. True crime podcaster Gina Klopp says there's several dead bodies laying amongst Christmas presents inside this apartment. And these bodies look like they have been shot while opening Christmas morning gifts. It just breaks my heart. What was supposed to be a wonderful Christmas morning turned into a nightmare for these people. Captain Luna says there were two middle-aged women, a woman in her 20s, a girl in her late teens, a 14-year-old boy, and two middle-aged men. All had been shot.
Nancy Grace says that the first responders looked for signs of life from each victim, and then they checked each room of the home to see if the shooter was still inside and if there were any other victims in the house, but they didn't find any. And Captain Luna says first responders also noticed the Christmas gifts had just been unwrapped before the shooting.
And Tina, you know what else police found at the scene? They found Santa Claus laying amongst the bodies. The question was, how was Santa connected to the scene? Police in Grapevine had a terrible Christmas mystery on their hands. 7 people were dead inside an apartment in the heart of the Christmas capital of Texas.
Jen, hold that thought, because it's time to refill our coffee mugs and give our listeners a quick message from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by Jake Tatum, top producing mortgage lender with the Wood Group of Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Before Jake was helping families get into homes, he spent years in law enforcement, solving problems under pressure. He learned how to read a scene, dig into the facts, and separate truth from noise. Now he brings that same level of clarity and precision to the mortgage world.
Because let's be honest, in this market, it can feel like there are clues, twists, and suspects everywhere. Interest rates moving, headlines popping, and everyone online acting like they have the secret code. Jake cuts through all of that.
Jake does all loan types: conventional, FHA, investment, renovation, and a one-time closed construction loan, you name it. And he also specializes in VA loans, making sure our veterans get every advantage they've earned.
And if you're thinking about refinancing, whether it's to lower your payment, pull cash out, or restructure your loan, Jake can break down your options and guide you through every step.
If you want a lender who treats your loan like a case file and actually solves it, connect with Jake today. Start at TatumHomeLoans.com. That's TatumHomeLoans.com.
Jen, is your coffee mug filled?
It is.
Let's get back to our show. We hear from Grapevine Mayor William D. Tate. He says the city manager alerted him on Christmas morning that 7 people were found dead in an apartment. And the mayor of Christmas City was in disbelief. He says Grapevine is a safe city and things like this just don't happen there.
Nancy Grace tells us that the victims all look like they were related, like they were family members, and they were caught unaware by a shooter while opening gifts.
We hear next from Dr. Kimberly Masnick. She's a forensic criminologist, and she says the holidays for most people are a happy time. But even for the happiest people, the holidays are also a stressful time. She mentions all the cooking, the cleaning, and I think of all the stress of finding time to buy gifts and sticking to a Christmas budget. Dr. Masnick says for the most vulnerable people without a support system, the holidays can trigger something in them that leads to having a violent episode. And they wonder, is that what happened here?
Wow. Forensic investigators and criminologists start working the crime scene, and police start knocking on doors, asking neighbors if they heard anything or if they knew who the victims were. Captain Luna says after talking to several people, no one had heard gunshots. And typically, police hear a gunshot and immediately call 911 to report it. Because let's be honest, gunshots are usually something that causes those red flags to go up. But we hear in this case, no 911 calls came in, except for that one. Remember the call where someone was whispering, "Help me, help me"?
Jen, how could no one have heard 7 people gunned down?
I have no idea, especially in an apartment complex where there's so many people normally around.
The walls are connected in a lot of the cases. It boggles my mind that no one heard this.
Yep. Luna says dispatch ended up calling that phone number back, the phone number that had dialed 911. And that's when officers working the crime scene heard a phone ring. And the phone was found in the handset cradle in the apartment.
Gina Glub, the true crime podcaster, says maybe the call was made by one of the victims that was hiding from the shooter. Nancy Grace says police find out who the landline belongs to, and she says it's a woman named Fatima Nazrin Ramadi, and that she leased the apartment.
After identifying Fatima as it being her apartment, police were able to figure out who the other victims were through driver's licenses. Detective Luna says that they knew 3 of the victims lived in the apartment. 55-year-old Fatima Nazrin Ramadi, her 19-year-old daughter, Nona, and her 14-year-old son, Ali.
We hear from Catherine Ann Coronado, and she tells us she was best friends with Nona. She also says Nona was a free spirit, sociable, and sounded like a sweet friend. She says Nona went right up to her on the first day of school and said, "You are so pretty, let's be friends."
Sounds like something I would say to you.
So sweet. I think it's awesome. Catherine says Nona was set on wanting to go to college and also to help her family.
Police figured out that the other 3 victims lived in Irvine, Texas, which is not far from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And turns out it was a mom, a dad, and a daughter. We learned that Fatima is the sister of 58-year-old Sarib Ramadi, and she is married to 59-year-old Mohammed Sarai. And they have a daughter named Sarah Sarai. It was a family gathering, cousins hanging out with cousins, and Christmas morning opening presents. That sounds idyllic.
It sure does. Vivian, Zora's best friend, tells us more about Zora. She says Zora was majoring in biology in college and wanted to be a doctor. And she says Zora was a caring person and wanted to help people. She had a warm and generous personality. And she also says Zora was very close to her family.
So now the question is, who in the world is dressed up like Santa Claus? And was Santa a victim or was he the killer? And according to podcaster Gina Glub, Santa had a gun. Was Santa trying to defend himself from the murderer, or could he in fact be the killer and then have turned the gun on himself after killing the entire family? Another thing that police had to investigate, to the left of Santa, they find Sarah's dad, Muhammad, and in his hand, they find a gun. So, who's the killer and who's the victim?
You've got 2 men, both dead, each one holding a gun. I'm curious how they're going to find out who's the shooter and who was defending themselves, and if that was even what was happening here.
So investigators at this point try and gather as much information as possible on Santa.
One of the things they find is a white Toyota 4Runner parked at the apartment with the registration belonging to the man wearing the Santa suit. And his name is Aziz Yazdan Panah. They then find out that he's also the estranged husband of Fatima, the woman who lives at the apartment, and he's the father of both of her children, and he's the brother-in-law of Mohammed, the other man with a gun at the scene.
So 2 brothers-in-law, both armed on Christmas Day. Crime scene techs continue to work the scene, trying to piece together what happened. And in doing so, they find blood splatter on the outside of the window blinds.
Spatter.
What?
Oh, no, it's splatter in this case. Sorry.
Now, this is confusing because we hear it looks like someone had moved the blinds, as if someone had seen the blood on the blinds, walked up to them, and turned that little handle thing to turn the blinds in the other direction, so no one would see the blood splatter.
So someone closed the blinds after the shooting.
Correct.
Nancy Grace now brings up another theory. Maybe the 2 men, Aziz and Mohammed, were both defending their family from another person that got away.
Grapevine Mayor William Tate says that at the time of the murder, it was the largest Christmas Day massacre in the United States. 7 people dead in an apartment on Christmas morning. And as you can imagine, news outlets from around the globe started swarming Grapevine. Investigators, meanwhile, are trying to put together what happened that morning. And we hear cell phone data from the victims was analyzed and used to put together a timeline of that morning. We hear that Sarah had sent a text message at 11:15 on Christmas morning, and the 911 call came in at 11:34. That's only 19 minutes. And during those 19 minutes, the entire family was killed. And we see the text message on the screen that Zara had sent. At 10:56, she had sent the text message. So we're here. We just got here and my uncle is here too, dressed as Santa. And at 11:15, she sent another text that said, now he wants to be all fatherly and win Father a Year because he's beeped up before.
We find out that Ali, the 14-year-old boy who was shot and killed, called a friend only 12 minutes before the shooting, wishing him a Merry Christmas. And there were no alarm bells going off during that call. Nancy Grace says Ali's friend said the family was normal. Nothing was strange about them, and that the boy's father said Aziz was one of the nicest guys he's ever met. Captain Luna says several people they interviewed said Aziz was not a violent person, and the same for Muhammad. Everyone interviewed about him said he was a great man.
Sarah's friend Viviana says that Sarah's parents were amazing people who hosted a lot of events at their house and always made everyone feel welcome and like part of the family. So police are left wondering who could have done this and why. We're told investigators dig deeper into the family dynamics. They learned that Nona and her dad Aziz, the guy who was dressed like Santa, had never had the best relationship. And Captain Luna says that when she was in high school, when Nona was in high school, her dad would board up her bedroom door at night to keep her from sneaking out.
Gina Glob, the true crime podcaster, says Aziz had high expectations for his family, but he didn't hold the same standards for himself. She says Aziz had a history of picking up prostitutes. And we also learned from Captain Luna that Aziz and Mohammed would tell their families they were going on hunting and fishing trips together when they were actually going to motels to meet prostitutes. Apparently, Mohammed told his wife what Aziz was doing, but didn't admit he was doing it too. And that didn't sit well, apparently, with Aziz.
Naughty, naughty. Clearly that would cause some friction in the family. And we hear that Aziz had at one point been a successful businessman. But when an embargo was placed on items coming into the United States from his home country of Iran, he was forced to close up shop. And that put the family into financial hardships. Fatima, Aziz's wife, we hear, was very proud. And with everything going on, she ended up moving out with the kids and into the apartment. While police are digging into all this, the medical examiner's report comes back. And we hear that the shootings were personal. Aziz's family had been shot in the head in what the medical examiner says is execution style. The niece, Sarah, was also shot in the head. Meanwhile, Zarib had been shot 3 times in the head, and her husband Mohammed had been shot once in the head and twice in the chest.
The medical examiner's report also shows that one person died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound, and that person was the man wearing the Santa costume, Aziz. Dr. Masnick, the forensic criminologist, says in her opinion, Aziz is a family annihilator. She goes on to say that while family annihilations are not common, they are the most common form of mass shootings in the United States. That's awful.
That's terrible.
Nancy Grace says there's one more twist in the medical examiner's report that shows Aziz tried to frame Mohammed. We also learned that police had used special software to analyze the 911 call and see if they can figure out who made that call. We hear an audio clip that sounds like the caller says, "He's shooting people."
We hear that Aziz was trying to stage the scene to make it look like a shootout between him and his brother-in-law. He put the gun in Mohammed's hands, and we're told that there were no indications that Mohammed, in fact, had fired the gun based on the blood splatter patterns, his injuries, and the fact that there was blood on the handle of the gun that was not consistent with the blood that was on Mohammed's hands. Now, Nancy Grace says that it's Aziz's blood on the gun handle and Aziz's bloody fingerprints on the blind. Aziz is the killer. Police end up going back to Aziz's family home, and that's where they find gun holsters, ammunition, and receipts for 2 of the weapons.
Gina Glob tells us what they believe happened on Christmas morning. They believe Aziz showed up to the apartment dressed as Santa, and that his family likely believed he was there to spend the holiday with them and to make amends with his wife and kids. But instead, he may have been wearing the costume to hide the guns.
That's terrible. Terrible.
Yeah.
So why did he do it? That's the thing everyone wants to know. Captain Luna says that Zareb, Aziz's sister-in-law, didn't think highly of Aziz. She looked at him like he was a failure since he could no longer provide for his family, and his wife was living in an apartment with their 2 children. Aziz, in return, did not like her because she voiced her opinions. He, meanwhile, blamed his sister-in-law for everything that had gone wrong in his life.
Nancy Grace also says that Aziz found out about a Christmas Eve party and how all the rest of the family was invited except for him. Captain Luna says from their investigation, Aziz likely felt slighted by this, especially since the entire family, including him, had spent Thanksgiving together and they all had a good time then.
So, because he had not been invited to the Christmas Eve party, he decided to seek revenge on the family on Christmas Day. Captain Luna says that Aziz had begged to attend Christmas Day so he could be with his kids and family while they opened gifts.
Captain Luna says the plan was Aziz would come by for lunch. He would give them their gifts, and then they would all leave so they can go watch a Dallas Mavericks basketball game.
Captain Luna says that Aziz clearly knew what he was going to do when he went to the house. I mean, he showed up with 2 guns and was dressed as Santa. Luna says he believes Aziz did what he did because in his mind he felt like there was nothing else left to do but to get revenge. It's a terrible story, truly. This family was so special, and to have this happen on what should have been a joyous day, it's a tragedy. These people were full of life, these kids, and that's what the 3 cousins were. They were kids. They had their whole lives ahead of them. They could have been doctors. They could have been scientists. They could have done tremendous things in the world, but their light was snuffed out by a coward. And that's what Aziz is, in my opinion. He's a coward. So I don't want to talk about him anymore. I want to talk about the victims. They're the ones that need to be remembered. Too many times people focus on the person who committed the crimes, but today I want to remember the victims. Fatima Nazreen Ramadi, Nona Yazdan Panah, Ali Yazdan Panah, Zareb Ramadi, Mohammed Sarai, and Sarah Sarai. Those are the people that matter. And in all the sadness of the Christmas Day massacre, family and friends of the victims want to remember them. They want the world to remember the light they carried with them. They warmed the hearts of everyone they met. They brought love, they brought laughter, and they made strangers feel like family. These victims truly embrace the spirit of Christmas, not only in the month of December, but all year round. And with that, Tina and I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas filled with lots of joy and love.
And safety.
And safety. Yes,
Please.
and safety. And we will talk to you again next week. Merry Christmas.